Good afternoon. We are extremely pleased that you are here. It is good to come together for the purpose of co-creating, is it not? What brings you here? You have wanting. You seek greater connectedness with who you really are. You like to be in happy places. As we are interacting here together today, you will experience firsthand deliberate co-creating at its very best. You are fulfilling your reason for physical experience as you are here in these physical bodies. And that is to bring forth into the greater view the perspective that you uniquely provide through that which you are living. And not two of you offer same perspective. This combination of beings has never been before unto all of the universe. The corridors are filled to the brim today with those from non-physical perspective who have extreme interest in that which is taking place. And so do not let it surprise you if you find yourself clearer in thought, offering questions that you are not aware you are able to offer, adding to this co-creating as you are receiver from your own broader perspective and offering not only from your physical conscious level, but from your broader connectedness as well. Are you ready for us? That is a little bit of a leading question, isn't it? Let us hear from you. What are you wanting to talk about? Begin there.
Right here, then you.
Okay. About a year and a half ago, I had a congestive heart failure. And they put me in the hospital, and I died. And
Fun, isn't it?
Huh?
Fun, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, I loved it. But anyway, the place I was in was, it was dark, but it was like shimmering silver things coming down, and yet it was an immense place, big, huge. I felt tremendous love, a lot of power. I had the feeling, well, the first thing I thought was, do I have any bodies? And it's like two eyeballs came out and looked. I had no body, which I was delighted with. So anyway, my next thought was, I was going to say, let there be light, and something in me wouldn't let me say it. So then I thought, well, they're always talking about that tunnel of light. I'll go check that out. When I did that, I come back to the hospital, and I was back in my body.
You went the wrong way in the tunnel, that is all.
Now, my question is, where was I? I felt like I was way out in the universe.
The where really is, it is not possible for us to say where you were, for you were existing in a state of being. What you are now physically translating back for physical friends to hear is your perspective, as near as you can remember it, of what it is like to hold for just a few seconds your broader perspective. Now, what is very emphatically important about that is you felt sure, you felt strong, you felt safe, you felt well, you felt love. In other words, you experienced purely who you really are, you see. And it was not your intent or the intent of your inner being for you to make your transition into the non-physical, for there is so much that you are wanting to continue to experience here. But it was enough to give you the clarity of who you really are, that you can take a stronger, clearer run at this physical experience with that experience behind you. And you provide wonderful verbiage for other physical beings to connect to, you see, who are maybe not wanting to go down that runway quite as far as you did, you see. Good.
Abraham, I've been working on trying to change certain behaviors and habits, and one of the things I'd really like to do is not spend money as much. So what I did is I got really excited about the idea of saving that kind of thing, and put a lot of energy in that, and immediately went up to Estes Park and blew over $200. And so I know some of it has to do with residue of old thinking and that kind of thing, but can you clarify and give some ideas as to how to help move forward?
What was your reason for not doing something? In other words, why did you decide, I will not do that, I will not spend money anymore?
Basically because my desires had outrun my bank book.
And so from your place of lack, you decided that you would take action.
Okay, I guess that's a... Yeah.
It is not uncommon. In other words, I am doing that which is ultimately not leading me to a place of feeling good, and so from that place of not feeling good, you say, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to curtail this activity. And at any time you take action from a place of lack, it does not resonate with who you really are. You would be much stronger in your decision if you would take a fuller pivot first. In other words, let the discomfort of overspending touch you a little bit, and from that recognize that you're vibrating in a place not in harmony with something that you are wanting, and what you are wanting is prosperity. You see, the idea, so many of you have a very backwards approach to all things about physical life experience, because somewhere along the line you've been convinced that you only get so much of it. So much good luck, so much money, only so much opportunity. And so from that guarded place, many of you have that attitude about many things, that you're wanting to hold yourself down a little bit, you see, not run so rampant. And what we are wanting you to understand is that the abundance is never ending, and that what you are really wanting is not to stop the flow of the dollars, but to get into harmony with the flow of the dollars. In other words, you are wanting them to go out as they come in, not one being more than the other, because either of them becomes uncomfortable. It is a lot of stuff to guard and protect and ensure and drag around with you, see. What you are wanting to do is utilize it like you do so many things of your universe, the oxygen of the universe, the energy of the universe, you see. Anytime you say, I'm not going to do something, you're usually headed for doing more of it. It is almost always the case. Because what you give your attention to, every subject is two subjects. And so as you say, this I want, but this I don't want, therefore not going to do that anymore, watch yourself. Because what you give your attention to is always your mode of attraction, you see. And then you say, not my fault, Abraham. I really didn't intend to do it. This jumped out and summoned me. And we say, of course it did, because that's where you were vibrating, you see. If you had really been vibrating from your pure place of wanting to attract more into your nest egg, then you would not have seen those things. Also, we are wanting to say to you that almost all of you find yourself, as you have less money than you want, or less things than you want, you find yourself in that place of being thirsty all the time. And so it seems like there isn't enough. You just keep bringing one more thing home, thinking that it will fill up this void or this place of lack. And then one day you look around and you have so much junk that you've gathered around you trying to fill up this void. The void isn't filled up, but you're buried with all of this stuff. Now you're dragging it around and insuring it and protecting it and cleaning it. When the reason that you attracted it to begin with was because you wanted it to soothe the lack. And we say there is an easier way to soothe the lack. Seek your joy. And as you seek your joy and find your place of balance, then you will attract only that which is in balance, which may include lots of magnificent stuff. We are not trying to guide you away from your stuff. We're wanting you to first find your balance and let the stuff that comes be in balance with that, you see. Good. What more? Let us go here.
The last several weeks in the bulletin, they've had a quote by Abraham which says, your conscious decision to deal with what is wrong is the way you resist allowing what is right, which I would agree with, but it hit me that, is that a little bit, if you don't deal with what is wrong, or is there some denial? The thing I'm thinking about is that one of the things from mythology is that is something called the descent into Hades, which is really a descent into your subconscious, metaphorically. And there are some things that are attracted in my life which are subconscious. I'm not even aware of them. And until I descend into what is wrong, if you will, I won't know what I'm attracting.
We agree with you. Let's talk about it so that we can get ourselves off the hot seat.
Okay.
The contrast of your universe is what we call the perfect balance. In other words, in this universe, we do not see it as many describe it, as that which is right and that which is wrong. We see it as that which is wanted and lack of it. And that which is wanted by one may be the lack of what is wanted by the other, and so on. In other words, there are not any rules or any ideas that can be embraced fully by everyone, because our perspectives vary so much, and circumstances and events vary so much. And so this that you are talking about is the contrast of the universe. It is really the basis for growth. For how do you know what you are wanting to be unless there is something to measure where you are against, you see? But as human beings, we have noticed that you go way overboard by acknowledging what you don't want, so much so that you have become a society, a world full of societies that almost without exception sincerely believe something that absolutely defies law. And what you believe is that in order to have what you want, you must defeat what you do not want. That the way to get to what you're, in other words, the way to have health, you believe, is to defeat illness. The way to have wealth is to defeat poverty. The way to have peace is to have enough wars that you see. And that does not work. You have a war on poverty, a war on drugs, a war against AIDS, a war against cancer, a war, and all of those things getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger by attention to it. And so what our offering is about, a little bit of shock treatment there, is to help you to realize that you are powerful vessels that focus energy through you and toward objects of your thought. And as you give your attention to some object of thought, as you think, you are vibrating. And as you vibrate, you are attracting. And so all of the time that you are trying to figure out what is wrong and trying to catalog it and trying to compare it to other things that are wrong, all of that time, no matter how clarifying you think it is, you are still in that mode of negative vibration, which means for that time of that clarifying, you are in the mode of negative attraction. Now, you touched upon something very essential. You said, at my unconscious or subconscious level, I have all sorts of stuff. And we say, our friend Jerry offered us the best picture of that as he was talking about a very large ship that was coming in to be docked. And the ship was to be tied with a very large rope that was very big and too heavy to throw across the expanse of water. And so instead, a small ball of twine was tossed across, which was spliced into a bigger rope, which was spliced into a bigger rope, which was spliced into a bigger rope, until eventually that very large rope was easily pulled across the expanse of water. This is the way your thoughts dovetail into one another. And those very subtle, very small, very minuscule subconscious thoughts that you are talking about, that you are filled full of, are like the very tip of that piece of twine, positive or negative, you see. Now, as they remain within you unstimulated, in other words, as nothing happens within your physical experience to bring them to the forefront, they remain within you, but they remain really very powerless. But as something happens within your experience that brings that forth, then by the way you feel about it, that is the way you understand the harmony of this unconscious belief with your greater knowing. If you can catch the picture of what we're offering here, you will have your guidance system in the perfect perspective forevermore. And that is, the way you feel is the barometer that lets you know the harmony or disharmony between the thought that you are currently focused upon and who you really are. Who you really are is an inner being who exists in a place of pure positive energy. From your physical perspective, that is the way you would know yourself if you could feel it, as you've described in your excursion into non-physical awareness. And so, as you are here in this physical body and you think a thought, doesn't matter, maybe that one stimulated the thought, and as you ponder that thought, you're just pulling on that rope a little bit, right away, if you are sensitive to the way you are feeling, unless you have been trained not to pay attention to the way you're feeling, as most are, when right away you feel the harmony or disharmony of that thought, because